You're listening to SM Media, the home of exclusive West of Scotland Football League content. Welcome, folks, to part 3 of our SM Media West of Scotland Premier Division season preview. In this episode, we speak to Clydebank manager Gordon Moffat, Pollok manager Stewart Maxwell, Hurlford manager Darren Henderson, and St Cadoc's new manager Martin Fellows, who all give us their hopes, expectations, and predictions for the season ahead. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Cheers. It's always a pleasure to welcome on to the show the Clydebank manager, Gordon Moffat. Gordon, it's always a pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming on.
No problem, Scott. Good to be on again.
It's always good.
I'm on the move today, so I'm out doing a week off with the kids, so I'm on the move.
Brilliant. It's always obviously a busy time of the year with the season about to start. Last season, obviously, really good season. Just kind of came up short in the West of Scotland Cup, but a good overall solid season again. How do you kind of reflect on last year?
You've probably summarised it pretty well, Scott. I think it was good. Could have been better. We got off to a poor start, which probably cost us in terms of really having a serious challenge. I think we're still probably in the title race towards the end of March, but I think the game we lost at home to Beith 1-0 probably finished that off. But we had really good cup runs. Like you said, we just came up a wee bit short against Talbot in the final, which was disappointing. We'd beat them a couple of times in the league, and they were just a better team on the night in the final, so that can happen. But overall, good. I think the year before we were top four, so it's kind of back-to-back top four finishes, which isn't easy, isn't easy in this league. So pretty happy with that. But probably similar I said to you last year, Scott. Said to the boys, that's no part of selling the bat for finishing fourth. We've not done anything, so it's just the challenge to take the next step and push again. We obviously added the cup final in last year, so like to try and push again this year.
And I remember obviously speaking to you last year at the Troon game that you lost, you were ahead at half time and lost that game, and there was a kind of sense of a negative round about the club just at that point, but there was a really good run just after that kind of put you in good stead, and just for there again it just went on to be a really good season kind of from that point of view. So was it kind of disappointing just at that start? Was just a wee bit disappointing, and was it that kind of game that just the kind of switch was turned a wee bit?
I think probably at that time we chatted, there was that kind of feel because we had a poor start, and we expected a wee bit better. But as we've seen all season, the league's it's punishing. It's unforgiving, and I think it'll be the same this year. If you're just a wee bit off it, you're losing in this league now. The quality of teams. I think that the start was a wee bit poor, but I was never that discouraged. I knew the quality we had. I think my frustration last year was we missed out on a couple of signings. We didn't get the ones, maybe the extra ones that we needed. We got some good ones in, but we didn't get the extra ones that I needed, and we started a wee bit short in certain areas. And it wasn't until midway through the season, we got likes of Danny McKenzie, Craig Little, and that gave us a bit of a kick start. So, it was a wee bit frustrating, but I think we got it together, and it shows the kind of character group we've got now in the dressing room that we went on had a reasonably decent season.
Yeah, and obviously one of the big things you've had this summer, obviously getting business done early, and some really good additions, particularly in forward areas. The first kind of saying I want to touch on James Grant, right back for Broomhill, obviously last year, still a really young player, really good addition, I think, for this level.
Yeah, he's one that there's a wee bit of connection with the club because he's a Clydebank lad, and his uncle Stevie's a lifelong fan of the club. And I'd kind of spoke to Stevie and obviously a couple of people the summer before, and it just never transpired, and he ended up going to open goal. And I think the way they played, was obviously good for me to see, because I kind of kept an eye on him, and I thought, if it's one that opens up, it would fit the mould for me as well, for my full-backs, because probably very similar to what Cy Ferry was looking for his full-backs in terms of being aggressive and good on the ball. So I'd watched him 4 or 5 times last season, and I liked what I'd seen. And obviously when the stuff happened with open goal and it looked like the team was going to disband a wee bit, We spoke to him, and it was very easy conversation to get him in. He was very keen to come and play for the club. So he's looked absolutely terrific in pre-season, I've got to say. He's looked very, very good. So I'm happy with him.
Brilliant. And obviously the two big additions up front, Callum Graham for Irvine Meadow and Thomas Collins for Kilwinning, two really good additions as well. Got them done early. How they kind of settled in?
Aye, good as well. I think it's in a forward area it can maybe be a wee bit different because obviously there's a bit more involved with patterns and how players move. And I was actually speaking to Carl and Thomas about that over the weekend because they're both very good players and they're demanding of themselves, which again's that type of character why we brought them in. But at times you can see them kind of they're desperate to show how good players they are. And I said to them, you've got nothing to prove here. It's all going to come, and that goes for the guys that have been here as well. Those relationships will form, and we've seen wee glimpses definitely. Obviously, two of them have got off the mat in the friendlies with some goals as well. So, no, it's overall positive. I mean, I think there's just wee bits we need to work on and training with the patterns and connections we make up to them. But no, overall, it's been good. They're both terrific boys, excellent trainers, and very, very good players. So, really happy with them.
And there's like a brilliant balance in the squad now. Obviously, like the two probably standouts last year, like Lee Gallagher and Nicky Little, obviously to kind of keep them and with these new guys coming in, there just seems to be a really good balance in the squad now.
Aye, I think there's probably maybe one or two still to come, possibly a defender, and maybe another wide player. I think at a minute in the wide areas, we've got obviously Lee as you said, and pardon me, we've got Alan Kelly, who finished the season very strong. He's been terrific, and we've got Liam McGonigal now coming back in the mix, who he's really had really broken up seasons because he's had his ACL, and then last year, as can happen, the year after the ACL can be every other wee injury. But that, and he had a frustrating time. But again, he's scored 3 or 4 goals in pre-season, and he's looking the part. And then we've got guys, like Thomas, who can go into that wide area, and one or two others. So, we're looking fairly balanced, as I said. Possibly one more defender would complete and make it where I would want it to be, but we're not in a massive rush for that at the minute. My focus is getting us all up to speed.
And one thing that's obviously very eye-catching is, again, just how open this league is. There's a lot of teams kind of doing a lot of kind of rebuilding and restructuring, but how kind of important is it to have that kind of core in place and kind of add to it, and just how every game's going to be difficult this year, isn't it?
As I touched on, the division is very unforgiving. You have a wee. Sometimes it's not even an off day, Scott. Sometimes you can have a poor half or a poor half hour, and the game's away for you.
Yeah.
And we spoke about that. There was games like that last season. You don't want to be chasing too many games in this division. You want to be on the front foot. So, it's very tough. I think keeping the squad continuity is big for me. I think over my first couple of seasons were a lot of ins and outs because I just needed guys that fitted what I wanted to do. But now I would like to think we've got a wee bit of an identity in terms of how we play. Although I would probably class as possession based. We want to be very, very aggressive going forward as quick as we can as well. So we need certain players for that. And this year the turnover's been smaller. I think the 3 we touched on plus Big Kieran Hughes, a goalkeeper, and Nicky Lowe, if you want to look at that as a sort of permanent signing, it's all we've really added. And as I said, 1-2 max to come. So I think it is a big thing. There's, some teams have had a wee bit of a turnover, but again, it doesn't guarantee success. Do you know what I mean? You just need to be at it and ready. So I think we've done some good bits over pre-season, but there's also some bits that haven't been so good. So we need to try and start well.
And what about the kind of expectations? Obviously, you've got the Scottish Cup. You're going to have a lot of games came up. How important is it to manage it this year?
Aye, listen, I say to guys that come into the club, the expectation's always there with this club because I think I've said to you before, Scott, just because of the history and the size of this club for non-league football, there's an expectation, particularly at home, to win every game, and last year we had the best home record in the division, and the year before that was really poor. So I put a big pressure myself to improve that, and we did improve that last year. But now the pressure's to do it again, and improve the league position again. So there's huge expectation every time you pull on the jersey at this club, and for me that's a good thing. again, you look at our season ticket sales, we're going to have big numbers inside the ground every home game. And there is pressure, there's no getting away from that. There is pressure to win games. I think for me, I'm ambitious. We want to again try and improve our league position. We want to try and be competing for it. Of course we do. I'm very ambitious in that respect, and I think that's really what we're putting on to players. We need to try and take the next step. But as I've said, nothing's guaranteed. You need to get on a wee roll and get points on the board. And you look at what Beef done last year; they just became ultra consistent.
Yeah.
And I chatted to a wee bit to Strain about that towards the end of the season. They just became very consistent, and they got that belief and they got momentum, and that can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always a pleasure to have you on, Gordon. Best of luck for the season ahead. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Scott. Cheers.
So it's always a pleasure to welcome on to the show the Stewart Maxwell. Maxie, you're now the Pollok manager. It's a pleasure to be on the show as always. Thank you very much for coming on.
Aye, Scott, thanks for inviting me on again, mate. Nice to hear from you.
It's always a pleasure, mate. It's been a very busy summer, obviously, for yourself. A lot of recruitment going on. We'll get into that later on. But taking the job at Pollok last season, it was obviously just getting a case of finding your feet at the club, bit of stability in there. How did you find your first half season at Pollok?
Aye, like you say, it was going in and sort of getting to know the club for the inside instead of looking for the outside, which is it's always different. And then assessing the squad and assessing where we're at, and just sort of looking always probably after the first month or so, you're sort of looking towards next season to try and get your own stamp on it. So it was just sort of gave boys opportunities, and we got it through at the end of the season, and then we sat down and we decided as a group what we're looking to improve on, and where we want to go, and what we were going to try and do. So, like I say, and obviously it's been a big turnaround, and that was the way we decided we thought we needed to get my own stamp on it. So, it's been busy. It's a really good club, good people there. Big expectations, as you know. So we're just trying to work with a new group, and they've been really, really good and really receptive. A lot of good characters in there as well, which is good to manage. And we've trained really hard. We've had a good pre-season. We've seen a lot of positives, which is good. So we're just like anybody else. We're looking forward to getting started and getting going.
What about the kind of competitiveness of the league this season? Obviously, you've been in the league a while at a different club, and you've seen just how tight this league can be, and it's going to get tighter this season as well. There's a lot of teams going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think there's always been outstanding candidates every year. There's always a team that's sort of, you would say, that's the favourite. Everybody's going to have to knock them off their perch. But I think it's really, really, really tight this year, Scott, in my opinion. I think there's a handful of teams that could be up there and win that title. I think it's going to be really, really, really tight. A lot of good teams, a lot of good managers in this league have recruited really well. So for me, I don't think if you look at, there'll be predictions over the next couple of weeks or whatever, and I don't think they'll say there'll be one team that everybody goes for. Like, I think previously there's been Auchinlecks and Darvels, and rightly so, really, really good sides. But I think this year it's really, really tight, and there'll be a lot of varied opinions, and opinions are opinions. But I think it's really, really, really tight this year, and it's going to be really, really competitive again. But it's probably the most competitive non-league in Scotland, the West of Scotland Premier. And again, I think that'll be proven come the end of the season.
A lot of kind of mixtures in terms of your recruitment. Obviously, a lot of experience. I look at like say Mark McKenzie for Hurlford, a lot of experience in the league. Kyle Hutton, obviously a Champions League player back in the day, a really good asset as well. I look at your kind of Lowland League signings now, looking at the likes of the signings you've got for Stirling Uni, Matty Burrows, Ben Fry, the goalkeeper, two really outstanding talents last year in the Lowland League. I look at Scott Forrester, I look at Luke Main for Caledonian Braves. A lot of real good Lowland League players. What was it about the kind of Lowland League and the kind of young talent there that kind of appealed to you?
Yeah, well, I think when you sign boys for Stirling Uni, apart from their actual obviously talent, what a season he had under Chris Geddes, who I used to play with. Chris, I know him well. I think they're really, really good young lads as well. They come with a good personality, a good nature, and meeting Matty Burrows and Ben Fry was two great conversations. Just come across really, really well as good young men, and that was just obviously their grounding, me being at the uni and working in that tight environment. So, and obviously they're good football players, and Matty's just steady. Can play a couple of positions, and he'll go under the radar. He's not one of these spectacular players that you go for a while, but he's just solid, steady, and that's why he played 30 plus games for the uni last year. And like I say, he played in a really good side, so that tells you everything. And I think Ben Fry's outstanding young talent, outstanding young goalkeeper, a brilliant, a great young lad. And I think we watched him individually, and I watched him probably about 4 or 5 times, and me and Chris, we knew that was the sort of goalkeeper we wanted to bring in. So I think the uni boys, I say they speak for themselves on and off the park. And then obviously the three for the Cali Braves, Ross Lindsay, Scott Forrester, who had previously managed Rob Roy, and Luke Main. But again, I mean, I think Cali Braves last year were probably just had somebody that could maybe probably have scored more goals. They could have probably won that league. I thought they were really, really good. Really, really good. And Scott's an outstanding defender, athletic, quick, scores in both, can score in the other box as well. And Ross Lindsay was the captain, great left foot, composed, good player, really intelligent. And Luke Main's just a workhorse, a talented workhorse. Is it when I mean that? I mean workhorse as in getting box to box, athletic, strong. But 3 great lads as well. And like I say, known Scotty previously, it was really, really happy to get these 3 over the line. So let's say I think, and then obviously get Evan Nearly. Evan sort of came in, sort of just at the end of the sort of that recruitment purge, and just quick, athletic, great lad, but just wanted to come and play for Pollok. He was desperate to be here, and that was one of the big things. He was coming to play and wanted to play for Pollok and do well, but he's electric, quick, and play off both flanks and play through the middle. And let's say, but another brilliant lad. Say, creating a good group there with personalities as well as players and their ability.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, yourself, obviously, there's a lot of chat about kind of top of the league and title challenge and things like that. Like, what's your kind of overall hopes and expectations for the season? You thought about kind of just how competitive the league's going to be, but for yourselves, obviously, really good recruitment, a lot of good players there already. You must be kind of thinking you can do well this year.
Yeah, as I say, I said earlier on, it's a prediction time, and listen, I think people know the game really well. Look at our squad and look at CVs, but CVs don't win you titles. You've got to get the continuity. You've got to perform, but you've got to have. I think you've got to have a mixture of youth experience and boys in the middle of the career as well. I think we've managed to achieve that. I think we're a really good group. Some really, really good personalities, some really good leaders that I think we needed at the group, because as I say, playing at Paul, there's an expectation there with the crowd and are really demanding. But you've got to. I think every manager in our league will there to try and win something and aspire. So we'll just got to say, like I say, 14 new players, gelling quickly and hopefully get off to a good start. But it's just hanging in there, Scott, and there'll be bumps in the road, as there will be for every other team. It's how you respond and keeping key players fit and turning defeats into draws and draws into win. That'll be the key. But no, I think if we can get going the way we what we've seen early doors, I think we can definitely be up there challenging.
It's going to be a really interesting
Whether we can
season.
win a title, it's really different. It's really hard to win a title. We can only one team, but we can challenge, definitely challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting season, Matt. Saying again, it's an absolute pleasure to be on. Thank you very much, and best of luck for the season ahead.
Thanks, mate.
So it's an absolute pleasure to be joined by the manager of Hurlford United, Darren Henderson. Darren, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure, Scott. It's good seeing you again, mate.
How are we?
I'm great. I'm really good. Aye, thanks.
It's been a busy pre-season, obviously a big win at the weekend in pre-season beating Johnson Borough. How's pre-season been? How you been finding the off season?
He's been good. It's, the results have been kind as well. But we're unbeaten. I know it's only pre-season, so we don't really look too much into results, Scott. But it's good to get some victories. Obviously, we drew with Stranraer and we've played in Lithgow,
Yeah.
Craig Mark and Johnson Borough yesterday. So they three results have been good for us. And fitness levels are good. We've got a really young squad this year, so no, pleasing at the moment.
And again, we spoke about it off air, and we've been speaking about it to a lot of managers. It's just getting more competitive, this league. It's just it's a really weird league this season because you've got a lot of teams in the kind of rebuilding process, but you've also got a lot of teams who are kind of coming up and wanting to improve straight away, and it's going to be some league.
That's getting more difficult each season, Scott. I'm certainly finding it tougher at Hurlford, just to get players in, and I'm losing players as well. I lost a few in the summer again, going to other clubs, and players that I probably needed or wanted to keep. But it's just the way it is now. And, as I said to you earlier, once upon a time I played myself. So I do get to understand why they're leaving.
And what about obviously kind of outgoings, like obviously Squibb going to Pollok, you've got Mark McDonald going to Stranraer, Josh Jack to Cowdenbeath. There's a few kind of big players away in the summer there.
Listen, it's hard losing them, but see, like a big Martin I had for 3 or 4 years, Squibb I had for 5 years, JJ I only just had, but obviously I knew JJ through my son's football, so I've known Josh a long time as well. So take the football side away, they're great. They're great lads, and we do miss them, But obviously they've decided to leave. They've went with our best wishes, and I still keep in touch with them. I hope they do well. I lost about 6 this year, so we just need to rebuild and go again.
What about kind of players you brought in, like the Ali Love, obviously a good experienced player that's coming in. There's a lot of good players that have come in this summer as well.
Ali's a boy I've always kept in touch with, over his days at Clyde and Dumbarton and whatever. He's a local boy as well, so even like if Ali's been struggling the last couple of years with injuries or suspensions, he was coming back. He's come in and done a bit with us, so he was always somebody that I was always hoping that when he took the step back down to the juniors, he would maybe come and have a wee look at least. So Ali's been great. He's great, not just on the pitch, Scott. He's great in the dressing room as well. Yeah. He's got vast experience. He's played at a good level. He's scored goals. So I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll continue to do that for us.
What about one player I wanted to touch on as well? Obviously coming back, they had a really good season last year, but it's obviously well known to Hurlford's Callum Watt. How good is it to have him back?
Tiny, obviously I've had Tiny, for a long time, and then he left just to go and try something else. So I'm lucky to get him back, and he's just the same old Tiny. His work ethics through the roof. He's a great boy on and off the pitch again. And he started like Ali. He started the pre-season really strong, and he's cut it back in no problems.
And obviously, as well, another one, Lewis Morrison, obviously coming back. It went to Darvel, obviously didn't work out, and he's back at Hurlford. He's another one, obviously, had his best days at Hurlford, a player well, another player you must be happy to have back in.
Jinky's sometimes the difference with winning and losing. Jinky's got so much ability, it's frightening. Obviously, we had to work hard with him, Scott, before to get him to where he was before he left to go to Darvel. He picked up a wee injury at Darvel. He didn't get a lot of game time, so we've had to work hard with Jinky over the last few weeks to get him up to speed. He was, I'm not saying he was behind the others, but he was just lack of game time and coming back from an injury. But once we get him up to full speed, Jinky he'll be massive for us.
Absolutely. And what about the hopes for the season ahead? Obviously, it was a really good season last year. You've had 2 really good seasons in the past couple of years. What's the ambitions going forward?
Listen, Scott, we always want to win some silverware. We always want to do well in the cups and start off well in the league. It's important that you hit the ground running. You don't want to be behind. You don't want to be in the bottom 3 or 4 after 2 or 3 games. It just brings a wee bit of pressure. I've got a really young squad this year. Hopefully we'll play in the front foot and we'll hopefully get a couple of results early doors. Maybe we've got two tough. Well, they're all tough. We're away to St Cadoc's, then home to Cairnsville, two of the teams that have just been newly promoted. So they'll be gunning for a couple of victories early doors as well. So as I said, pre-season's been going well with the 2 or 3 tough games, and we've come out on the other side. So hopefully, going to places like St Cadoc's and Gartcairn, which are going to really test us. As again I keep saying, we've got a young. I've got a few older ones as well, but no, it's got to be tough. Obviously, the draws for the cups are already out, and again, there's some tough draws there away to Pollok and the Scottish, which is no ideal because they put us out last year, and they went on to win it, which was great for them. But no, listen, I've got no like where we're going to be and what we're going to do. We're just going to keep our heads down, keep below the bar, and just keep trying to progress. And obviously, I keep saying that the young ones, hopefully, the season into them last year, brought another couple of youngsters in, and they'll progress.
Darren, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on the show. Best of luck for the season ahead, and thank you very much as always.
It's been a pleasure again, Scott. Take care, pal. Cheers.
So it's a pleasure to welcome the new manager of St Cadoc on the show. First time on. Thank you very much to Martin Fells. It's a pleasure, mate.
No, thanks for having me on, Scott.
How are we? How are you settling in?
Good. Yeah, it's been really, really good. Big change, obviously, having been at East Kilbride for such a long period of time. I've said to a few people that I suppose that sometimes it's like that autopilot when you're in your car at night sometimes as well. It's like the episode of Only Fools and Horses where Rodney goes into the living room and opens the paper up and they say, "We don't live here anymore." So it's a wee bit like that, just getting used to going somewhere different when you've been going somewhere for 10 years. But no, it's been really, really good. The guys at St Cadoc's have made it. If you're going to go somewhere after being somewhere for 10 years, they couldn't have made it an easier process for me. They've been the support for the club, within's been fantastic. I've been really blown away with that.
Obviously, as well, last year you were in the kind of unique position, obviously winning a trophy as caretaker at East Kilbride. How important was that, and to kind of give you that experience at a big level and coming into your kind of first job in senior football? How big was that kind of opportunity last year?
Yeah, it was good. It was a really good learning experience, having worked with the players so closely over a period of time, to taking up that different role and working with them really closer, one-to-one, and working with some really, really experienced guys. There's guys in that team that were in that East Kilbride team last year and in that St Cadoc's team now that have played a lot of games in the Premier League. So I think on night one, that's maybe your reservations that you're going there, and there's guys that with a vast level of experience and at the top level of the game, and are these guys going to are they going to respond to your methods? And they were fantastic, and I'm sure I learned as much for them as they did for me, and that was a real learning experience for me, getting the opportunity to work really close. As I say, when you've been working with them for a while anyway, but when you go to that kind of one-to-one and you be the manager, it was a really good experience, and I loved it. And I think I suppose when it's sprung upon you the way it is, when you're not planning for it, you're not preparing for it, or you don't have any idea it's coming. It's not, you're not applying for jobs. You're not sitting going, right, okay, I need this, I want this gig, or I want to be doing this, or I want to be moving here. When you get a phone call on a Sunday or whatever night it was, a Friday night, to say this is what's happening, I think that's probably as good an experience as any, because you find yourself in the position, you find yourself doing it without thinking about it, which can be a benefit, I think, because you don't second guess yourself, you don't overanalyze. You've been handed the keys and you go, right, we need to get on with this now. There's not a moment for us to think about it. It's just, right, how do we get the best out of this scenario? So I think that was a really good experience.
And obviously, kind of speaking of incomings, kind of coming into St Cadoc's, it was a side who had obviously had a lot of rebuild the season before and managed to get promotion, but it was basically a clean slate. You've brought a lot of guys in, like, just kind of looking now, like Gary Miller, Alan Liskell, Bob McHugh, Ronan Hughes, obviously a young talent, Lewis McTaggart for Benburb. A lot of guys in there, obviously Aidan as well is going to make a big impact for you. How important was it to kind of get those guys that you knew already, and kind of as well some good talents like Lewis for Benburb? There's a couple in there as well, but mainly kind of guys you knew already.
Yeah, difficult one. I think I had a few conversations with people through the summer where it was a really, really weird scenario, or a really unusual scenario, probably, where you're at a club and you have the opportunity at another club and you kind of have the pick of the guys you were previously working with. I don't think that'll ever happen again in my management career, if my management career continues. That I'm not sure I'll ever get that opportunity again, you know, and I include players and staff in that as well, you know. Michael was doing a similar thing at East Kilbride where he wanted to go in and do his own thing, and I think maybe the stars aligned a wee bit, or things joined up where it gave me the opportunity to work with guys that I would have been really keen to work with anyway if I'd stayed on at East Kilbride, for example, you know. So it was a really weird scenario, but I felt it was important that although we were recruiting, you know, from guys predominantly I've been working with, but also that we added a wee bit, you know, of experience at that level and guys that we could rely on. Lewis is a really good talent. One I'd been watching while I was at East Kilbride, and one I was really aware of. Obviously, my brother Aidan was on loan there as well, so I had a vested interest in Ben Bubb last season, and it was great to see them have the success they did. So Lewis was one that, you know, that I had my eye on really early. Alan McKenzie obviously is the obvious example of there's nobody more experienced or successful at this level than Alan, and I thought that was going to be majorly important for us to have somebody of Alan's experience and ability, more importantly, you know, in the side. And, you know, we obviously retained the guys for St Cadoc as well, the 6 or 7 there, that we felt, you know, would really fit well nicely in our group and in our way of working. So we tried to, you know, as much as we brought a big group over from East Kilbride, we tried to recruit in the areas that we felt needed strengthened, and not just ability but in experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the club as well are very ambitious. So obviously it took a lot of time to get up to the Premier Division. How important is it, the faith they've kind of given you to get them in that good position in the league?
The club have set no expectations, in all honesty. They've been, you know, really, really open when it comes to that. We'll have our own in-house, our own goals. We'll look at goal setting, and I think it's easy to come in and go, oh, we want to do this. But we'll set particular goals over the course of the campaign, and we'll sit down and review them at certain points as a group and as staff, and we'll try and hit them, as many of them as we can. But there isn't we don't sit here with goals to say, oh, we want to do this, we want to do that. We want to improve. We want to get better week to week. We want to improve the way we train. We want to improve the way we operate, you know, in the transfer market. We want to, you know, just improve in everything that we can. I've got some guys working with me who are vastly experienced, way more experienced than me, you know, players and staff. And, you know, can we use that experience as a club? You know, can we maximise that? You know, no one person is more important than the other. And I'm really big on that. I've surrounded myself with some staff who are fantastic, you know, and my only problem is I feel as if I'm not really doing much at times, which is difficult for me, going from when you're under 20s and you spend your whole life, you know, kind of working with a team and sorting registrations and sorting strips and everything that comes with it, and then you get we're so spoiled with the resources of staff we've got that I feel at times I'm not doing much.
And what about the kind of competitiveness of the league? As you say, every weekend it's going to be difficult. How do you look at the league at the moment and say, like, players, every team are really strengthening this year? It looks a really good league.
Absolutely, it looks a great league. And as you say, you look at Pollok and Darvel and Auchinleck and Clydebank and the recruitment they've all done and the vast experience they've got playing in this league and playing at this level. It's just really exciting for us. You know, I've been going to the same grounds for the last 10 years and I've loved every minute of it. But there's a part of me looking at fixtures going, I look forward to that one. I look forward to going there. I look forward to meeting new people. I'm very much a people person. So I love that side of the game. I think that's why we all get into football, because it's so much a part of our lives, and we make relationships with people, with players, with supporters, with committee members, with other clubs. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of going and working with different people, going and meeting new people, going and coming up against different managers, different coaches. You know, can we learn for that? And, you know, can we pick up as many points as we possibly can?
Brilliant. Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Best of luck for the season ahead. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Really appreciate it.